FOJ 23, Jay. How's it going?
Jeff, what's up, man? How you been?
Another day, let's see, where are we at? 55 cents on the dollar. Markets are down.
Markets are down. Although I will tell you, one of my customers was listed today at eggs coming down by $30 a case this week. So hopefully it sticks, but we'll see. So
Well,
he was excited to see that.
that's exciting, and that's totally worth it. So I
Yeah,
guess there you
totally.
go.
Yeah.
And how many eggs are in a case?
In his case, 15 dozen. So he was saving roughly $2 a dozen. So not bad.
Okay, so great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What other awesome
so-
things have happened?
Yeah, I know it's a hot button, so I just thought I would throw it in there. It's a hot button for a lot of people for whatever reason. But yeah, I know.
Makes it all worth it, Jay. What can I say?
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I know we took a week off. I know
We did.
you were in Orlando.
I was.
I was in Tucson. I think you were out there for work. I was out there for fun. And yeah, so it was kind of cool to take I kind of brought work with me, but as I usually do, but I didn't pay nearly as much attention as I usually do. So I was just kind of going through motions, and it's nice to get out of Chicago for a week. So it was good.
So how was Tucson? What'd you do? Baseball, I guess.
Did baseball. It was nice. It was cooler than I thought it was going to be. Mainly 60s, and we've gone down there. This is, oh man, like our third or fourth year down there that the team has done this trip, and usually it's in the high 70s. It'll touch 80, but this year was a little cooler. It did rain one day. The first rain Tucson had seen in almost 250 days, and it's the one day that we're there. But, it worked out okay, and, got all the games in and saw some good baseball, saw some not so good baseball, and enjoyed some time with our middle son. We had a great time. And Justin and my dad came down for the final weekend we were there. So, really nice time. Good to see everyone.
Good. Any good food?
Let's see. We were down there. We had Raising Cane's. You can get Cane's anywhere. We had an
Except here.
Airbnb.
They don't have it in North Carolina.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, here it's
sure
Bojangles and what else? And then the usuals: Popeyes, KFC,
Okay.
some place called
Well-
Huey Magoo's, which I'd never heard of, but whatever.
Well, Cane's is pretty damn good, as I'm sure you know. I was first introduced to Cane's, actually, I think it was on the trip that we went and saw Mr. Cruz get married, is when I was first introduced to them down in New Orleans.
That
Or
is
not
old
New
school.
Orleans, Baton Rouge, excuse me.
That is old school.
Yeah, the night I got in, he's like, I gotta take you to this place called Raising Cane's, and I'd never heard of it. And I'm like, okay. And as you know, all they sell is chicken tenders. That's it. And I thought, all right, it's just a local thing or whatever. And since then, they have blown up almost all over the place outside of Asheville, North Carolina. But they're all over Chicago, and they are building even more all over Chicago. So
The world loves a good chicken finger. What can I say?
no doubt. But no, we had a nice Airbnb down there, so we did a lot of, we just went to the store, grocery shopped, try to save a few dollars here and there by cooking for ourselves, and it's just a nice little getaway. So it's good.
Well, I was in Orlando. Nothing too exciting. It was a little bit colder than I thought it would be, but I'm actually okay with that as far as Florida is concerned. So
Sure.
in and out. I was there all week, basically. Flew back Friday. Yeah. I guess I wish I had something exciting to report, but I don't. It was work.
I got to tell you, I don't travel nearly as often as you do, so I'm sure you have it down. You unpack, get home, unpack, do laundry, get it all done, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It seems to take me forever to get home from vacation and get reset into real life. Like, we got back, what was it, Monday night, and I just put all my laundry away today from the trip.
So what took you so long?
I don't know. I just like to, I'll throw the bags in the foyer and I'll let them sit there for a day, and then I'll take them upstairs, and then I'll let them sit there for a day, and then it's like, okay, I probably need to do the laundry. So it's kind of hard to do it on a day that I'm working. So I waited till Saturday to do it, and then, okay, it's sitting there. I washed all my stuff, and then, it's only 2 stinking loads of laundry. This is how bad I am. So it's like, okay, then I let it sit in the dryer for, the better part of a day. I'll take it out, then I'll fold it, and I'll let it sit on our ottoman in our family room for a day. Finally, probably about 2 hours ago, I finished putting stuff away, hanging shirts up, all that kind of stuff, just to start the process all over again. So,
okay, so how long were you in Arizona?
We were in Arizona. Let's see, we left the previous.
How many days? Give me days and nights.
Because
I'm trying to figure out how you had to do 2 loads of laundry for a trip.
8 days, 7 nights. Okay. Now,
right.
Granted, now, not all of the laundry I did had to do with the trip. I also had laundry from the previous week of, working on that stuff. So I bet you I could have done all of the laundry from the trip in one load.
Okay. That was starting to make a little sense. Because I do consider myself a little bit of a professional traveler because I do it so much.
Yeah. I am not. I am definitely an amateur. I just throw everything in a duffel bag. Usually I'm a very light traveler, but this time, because Arizona this time of year, and I've learned this from previous years, it can be warm during the day, but it can get really cold at night. Mm-hmm. So it's like you gotta bring everything. So I brought sweatpants, blue jeans, sweatshirts, shorts, t-shirts, everything.
This is where layers are your friend.
Yeah, exactly. And then my wife is notoriously on the cold side, so that involves bringing a couple of blankets to the games and things like that. So I had to pack all that. So I felt like I had this big military-style duffel bag with me that just had what felt like half my closet in there. So,
yeah, I
kind of crazy.
I get it. It's tough when you have variances in temperature like that. So,
yeah,
I think layers are your friend. You have everything from a t-shirt to maybe like a hoodie to maybe like a windbreaker type thing. And if you put all 3 on, you're probably going to be okay in 80% of the circumstances. If you're really going someplace cold, then maybe you might need another layer. But if you've got something that blocks the wind, at least the top half, that does a long way. So I also like to find things that serve multiple purposes. So
yes,
I generally pack pretty light. And I never bring a winter coat when I travel. Doesn't matter where I'm going.
No, I don't either. And I even in the wintertime, I rarely wear one when I'm out driving or anything. It's just not comfortable. So
I load take up so much space. I'm on planes. What am I going to do with a giant fucking winter coat?
Yeah, exactly.
So I get one of those. I have a nice LL Bean one that I got last time I was up in Portland, Maine. And it folds down into almost like a little pillow, basically. So it fits perfectly in a bag.
Nice.
And if I'm cold, unfact that thing and throw it on top of the hoodie and the t-shirt that I'm wearing.
There you go.
And I'm generally good to go. I've gone to everywhere, I think, with that simple combination.
Nice.
And it's never been a problem, no matter how cold it's been outside.
That's good. Yeah, I have this really thick, what is it? The brand Carhartt hoodie sweatshirt that Joshua gave me for Christmas not this past Christmas, but last Christmas. And that thing is as warm as any winter coat I have ever owned. And I wear that thing a majority of the time, pretty much anywhere. And it suits me fine. So it's big, it's thick, but I can still move around in it. And it's good. So.
Is it packed down small? Throw it in a bag?
Small enough. Either that or that's what I wear.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. Had a couple of interesting flights, lots of turbulence. Again, I'm not a professional flyer like you are, so a little nerve-wracking. Flying Southwest, their seats they pack them in tight, baby. And, that's kind of
Believe
interesting.
it or not,
so
they have the most legroom of any of the major carriers.
Well, it's not the legroom
or like half an inch or something. It's not a lot. So
it's not the length I'm looking for. It's the width.
Yep. Yep.
So luckily I sat in the back, the very back row both times, because I know they got rid of it, but this flight still had the seat yourself. I went straight to the back, had somebody in between myself and, the person in the window. Michelle shared the aisle across from me. She had a row to herself, which was nice. And because I'm an aisle guy, I don't like to be locked in. I need an escape route, if you will. And
the window's not an option to escape.
No. No. So, again, I'm not a professional flyer, traveler, any of that stuff, but it was a good time. It was good to be home. I do have a ding-a-ling story that my son did. So we were all leaving on Monday. He flew out of Tucson. We flew out of Phoenix because it's a little bit less expensive to fly in and out of Phoenix than it is Tucson. So he was flying out of Tucson Monday around noon, and we were flying out of Phoenix on Monday. I think our flight was scheduled to leave about 6:30. So get up, take him to the airport, and then we went and met Jeremy and the baseball team before they were getting ready to take off. So we took Jeremy out to lunch. I kid you not, he goes to board the plane. Let me back up. So the plan was to take Justin to the airport, go meet Jeremy for lunch, send Jeremy off with his team because they were headed to the airport, blah, blah, blah. And then we were going to go back, clean up the Airbnb real quick, pack up, and then head towards Phoenix. We're in the restaurant. It was a local build-your-own burrito place. Really good, by the way. I forget what it's called, but it's really good. Get a call. Michelle gets a call from Justin about 15 minutes before he is supposed to take off. My car keys are at the Airbnb. I don't have them. I'm like, oh my God, dude. So obviously I'm going through my mind. Okay, can we get him his keys? Obviously I can't get him his keys. I'm like, Justin, you can't get on this plane without, his car keys he's in long-term parking at Denver Airport, which is about an hour and a half from where they live. So so we talk him out of, he's like, well, I got to get on the plane. Like, no, what are you going to do when you get to the car and you have no car? He's like, well, I can Uber home. I'm like, okay, what happens tomorrow when you have to go to work? You still have no car keys, all that stuff. So we talk him into not getting on the plane. He was flying Frontier, calls Frontier, finds a flight out of Phoenix for later that night. Cost him, I don't know, I think it's like $200 extra. This is one of those days where I'm glad, I hate that it happened, but I'm glad he's off my payroll. Because the old Jason and Michelle would have had to pay for that. Now he has a job, his career, he doesn't live with me, none of that. So this was an expensive mistake for him. He felt horrible. And everybody's, of course, pissed off. Everybody's frustrated. And finally, I just started laughing. And, I got well, what's the damn funny? And I'm just like, well, it's not happening to me. This is all your problem. And, we had a little laugh over it. And so we went, we ate, we dropped Jeremy off, went back, cleaned up the Airbnb real quick, and then went and picked up Justin from Tucson Airport. And then all three of us drove to Phoenix. So,
everyone had their keys.
Everybody had their keys. It's like, and this is what I think. So this kid of mine who's doing very well with his job, he staffs for the Department of Defense, people who build missiles and build, all kinds of high tech stuff. These $200,000-$400,000 a year jobs. Yet he can't keep track of his own damn car keys, man. And it just makes me laugh. And it's just those little reminders that, sometimes he is still a kid. This is a guy who just bought his first pistol. You live in Colorado, you need to own a gun, I guess. So, that's like his latest thing. We were just on, prior to this podcast, we were on FaceTime with him. My dad's out of town. He's playing softball right now. So he's home alone. He's walking around his house with his gun on his holster, unloaded, not loaded, but he's just walking around his house acting like he's playing GoldenEye, and stuff like that. It's just funny. And it's interesting to hear him talk about his work, yet it's also interesting to see him still as the, 10-year-old kid that lived in my house forever. So it's interesting. But yeah, he got home. It was late. He had to work the next day, and then reality set in for him and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, still a kid.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. There's nothing worse than getting to the airport and having forgotten something.
Yeah, thankfully, I haven't had that happen. Not anything that I could get where we were going. But God, if I'd forgotten like a wallet or car keys or something like that, oh my God, I can only imagine what that would have been like.
So I carry a spare ID with me. So I have a passport card that I can use that never leaves my travel bag. And then my wallet stays with me. So in the event that I were to leave my wallet at home, I should have an ID on me. And I can't remember the last time I used cash for anything. Most places will take Apple Pay anyway at this point. Or I've got the numbers saved in a password wallet on my phone that I can get to if I actually needed to manually, do a credit card transaction. So
makes sense.
I'll be very happy the day that everything can just live on the phone, because I find it very difficult to forget the phone because you need it almost for everything.
I mean, our entire lives are in that thing. We had this. It's funny. We had this discussion today. Michelle was at work, and I guess one of her managers was on the employees' case about being on their phones. And I remember when I was at Chili's, when I was general manager, and they used to tell us you got to keep these people off their phones. And finally, I just gave up. I gave up because it's like older people don't understand. I don't think that people's entire lives are in those phones, and they're a connection to the outside world, whether it's their kids or another job or relatives or the news or whatever. Everything comes from the phone, and it's pretty amazing. It's also kind of scary if you think about it, but it's just, everything's in those things. So God forbid you lose your phone. Yeah.
I mean,
you have problems.
Yeah. I've had a cell phone since 1994.
Okay.
That's how long I've had a cell phone.
God, I can't remember.
Literally when I graduated high school, I had a phone.
That's probably about when I got mine.
It was Cellular One. It was in Romeoville. My dad went with me, and I've been connected literally ever since. My dad was a very, techie guy as well, so I get a lot of that from him, I'm sure. But yeah, I've had a phone for almost 30 years. No, let's do it. Yeah, almost 30 years.
Try to think. Let's see. I think the first actual cell phone I had
40 years. I can't do math.
Yeah. I can't remember when exactly I got it. It was pretty young, but I know I got it from the Radio Shack. I was working at a hot dog stand, and Radio Shack was next door. And they came over with some promo or something, and me and one of the other guys went over and got cell phones there. And then eventually I got, like you said, Cellular One, which turned into AT&T, and I've been with AT&T ever since. So
long run.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why I needed a cell phone. I think, like I said, it was just a piece of technology, and I just thought it was cool. My thing.
I just thought it was cool.
Yeah. And I had a pager as well. So, what was
I skipped the pager phase. I know you had one. I know Chad had one.
Yeah. The only people who were paging me or calling me would have been Chad, Andre, you, Cruz, or my family, and that's it.
Yeah,
and it was, you had minutes, right? So you had to be careful about your minutes.
Yeah, I never had a pager, but I'll admit it took me a while to get on the smartphone bandwagon. I had a cell phone for a while, but I didn't get an iPhone, oh my God, probably for a few years until after they came out.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they were revolutionary at the time. I had a Windows smartphone before all that. It was like Windows Mobile or something like that. And I feel like I might have had like a Palm something or anything. And Nokia didn't really have kind of a smart OS. But yeah, when the iPhone came out, I didn't get the first year because it didn't have Bluetooth. But the next year, when they added Bluetooth to it, that was it. That was done.
My first iPhone was only because my cousin or Michelle's cousin upgraded his phone. So I got his old one. And man, I was hooked after that. I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. And, then I discovered obviously all the stuff you could do with it. And it's like, it's like having a computer in your hands. It's like having a computer, an encyclopedia, updated news, sports, all that stuff. I'm like, this thing will never leave my hand ever.
It's too invaluable.
Yeah, it really is. It's crazy how they can fit all that into something that'll just fit in your pocket,
Mm-hmm. Now I'm using it to unlock my car. I'm using it to board a flight. I'm using it to pay for everything. I mean, we saw like a couple of old men here talking about this newfangled technology, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, what can I say? I'm just a big tech dork, and I'm always constantly playing with stuff like that.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, it's really fascinating, all the tech stuff. And then, I mean, we've talked about, the introduction of YouTube to our lives. Mm-hmm. And, it's another thing that kind of changed everything. And I just found all that stuff. I don't understand all of it, but I do find it fascinating and wish I could get into it more. But, I love what it does for me.
So
it is.
I take advantage of return policies very liberally.
It's good.
Try stuff out. If you have not had a chance, the Apple Vision Pro, their like VR headset thing that they came out with last year, it is ungodly expensive. It is an affront to anybody with good, decent sense when it comes to spending money. But it's like a $3,500 headset.
Oh, jeez.
Right. And I'm not sure how into you are with like 3D and VR and things like that, but this thing is hands down the coolest Apple product that they make.
That's cool.
And it is unbelievably good. So much better than anything else out there from Meta or any other company that's putting together VR headsets like that. It is the equivalent of the NFL and versus Pop Warner. That is the difference.
Oh, wow.
In the quality of the technology and stuff like that. Now it's Apple, so it's ridiculously expensive. It makes less than no sense for most people to have this thing.
So what would you use it for? Just
well, see, that's the thing is I think it's a little bit looking for.
I mean, I can't imagine what you would spend $3,500 on just a thing, that has no
movies are
specific purpose. Okay.
So wait,
I'm assuming you have this.
I had it for 2 weeks and I could not justify keeping it. So I bought it.
So you tried it out
and then sent it back, which is my MO totally for stuff like this. But the quality is amazing. And this is when it first came out. I want to say it was like, I don't know, it was around this time last year, I think. April 2024, I think, somewhere around that time is, I think, when this came out. And I took a trip to Minnesota to go visit a client, and I brought it with me on the plane. And this thing is not built for travel. Like, it's kind of big and cumbersome. The case is kind of huge, and, it's not really ideal for that. But I got to tell you, it is awesome for flights. You put that thing on you and you put your AirPods in and you are in a totally different world. I watched the Marvels in 4K on like the equivalent of like a 60-inch screen in 3D with Dolby Atmos and surround sound on my AirPods. For the 2 hours or 2.5 hours it takes for me to fly from Asheville to Minnesota. One of the few places I actually get a direct flight for. And this thing was amazing. Wow. It is fantastic for movies. So it's great for movies. The OS is really innovative. It's like you kind of pinch and there's cameras that know like what you're doing with your hands. It's It's crazy. It's like really, really cool and very futuristic. If you have a MacBook, you can connect it to your Mac and it treats it as like another monitor. And so now I'm on my MacBook and I have like this giant widescreen monitor and I can edit videos and, audio and do work on and stuff like that. It's crazy. And I can say World of Warcraft and on a 60-inch screen in front of your face that looks awesome.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. But it is such a cool experience. If you get a chance, go to an Apple store. You can I think you can make like an appointment or maybe just show up.
Yeah.
Say, hey, I want to try the Apple Vision Pro. And it is so unbelievably cool and a glimpse of kind of what's next. Because people are working now on glasses. Something is going to replace the phone/tablet hybrid here at some point.
Right.
And glasses are getting to the point where they are getting small enough. The battery's getting good enough. And, that might be an option that might be looked at for things. But I got to tell you, man, that thing is so badass. I still think about it. Here I am a year later. I'm like, oh, it's so cool. Just couldn't justify the $4,000 that it costs to buy it. And then, of course, you need to get Apple Care because, God forbid, you drop the thing or break it. It's like an $800 lens replacement.
So I'm looking a quick look online. It looks like the 256 gig Apple Vision Pro refurbished you can get for $28.35.
That's a lot of money.
But the 512 gig Apple Vision Pro, I'm seeing it listed for $59.99.
That's a lot. Yeah. I don't think it would make sense to get like more disk space. I think most of the experience is streaming. But man, if I lived by myself, if I lived in, a small apartment, didn't have room for like a big TV, and I tried this out and I liked it, that could replace like your big AV setup. Like if you're living by yourself. Here's the problem with Apple Vision Pro. It is a very solitary experience. It is not meant to be shared with other people.
Okay.
Think about it. It's a mask that you're wearing.
Yeah.
You're in your own little environment. You're totally cut off from the outside world as much as you want to be. I mean, you can, pass through a view and, whatever, right? Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it is not like a phone or an Apple TV or something, right? Where you can take an earplug out and give it to a friend and have them listen to music, right? Or stuff like that.
Yeah, you're locked in.
It is a very solitary experience. You put it on, it calibrates to your eyes and like the distances and all the other stuff, right? And so it's really best enjoyed by yourself in solitary, which is really kind of an interesting spot to be in.
I'm on Apple's website right now. So those were third parties that I listed before. So Apple's website lists the 256 gig from $34.99.
Yep.
The 512 gig from $36.99. And then I am not familiar with what TB stands for, but
terabyte,
thank you. All right, the 1 terabyte it starts at $38.99. So
it's crazy.
If you basically want to add a car payment for a year, you can own this thing.
Yeah, I mean,
because it says you could finance it for between $291 and $324 a month. So
yeah, I think if you have like an Apple card or something, you do like same as cash for a year or whatever it is. But even still, it is still such a ridiculously overpriced, exorbitant luxury. Nobody needs this item, but it is so good and so much better than anything else that I've tried. It is not even close. And so if you get a chance, I'm looking at the webpage now. You can book a demo at the bottom. Go and try it out. It is so cool. I mean, you put it on and you're going to be blown away at like how good this thing is.
Hey, 0% APR with an Apple card. So
yeah, well, there you go. It's free money, but it is very cool. I took it with me to, like I said, I watched the Marvels, yeah, in 3D, 4K at 30,000 feet. I blinked, the movie was over, and I was home, and I was, at the client's office. I brought it into the client office with me. We're friends. I was like, hey, I brought the Apple Vision Pro. Do you want to try it out? So we didn't get any work done that day. We basically sat in a conference room, and I showed him how it worked and set it up. And there was like, at this time, it's like a year ago, they had a bunch of like apps to kind of show demo, right? Kind of like what it's capable of. And one of them was this app where you could basically have these 3D rendered objects, models, and then you could explode the models and like walk through it and pull pieces off. And so one of them was a jet engine where you could spin it, you could make it as big or as small as you want it, and you could start pulling off every piece of the jet engine down to like the fan blades and cords. And like you could really see how this thing was built, essentially. And then it would animate, and you could see how the air went in through the turbine in the front, got converted into energy, and then the exhaust out the back, right? And all this stuff. So just a super cool, like, neat thing. I don't need it, but I want it. One of those kinds of things. So you haven't tried it, check it out. It's really cool.
It sounds like for somebody who travels as much as you do, that might actually be something that's useful. And you could maybe justify the purchase. I mean,
I tried. I did my darn. I was like, this is a lot of money. I don't know if I want to spend that much money on it. It's too big for me. I like to travel light. So what I did is actually got some of like these glasses instead that are like these little personal cinema things. I have X-Real something or other Pros or whatever. And those work fine. They are way smaller. Are they anywhere near as good or as, functional? No. But if I want something to like watch, a movie on a much bigger screen while I'm sitting in an airplane seat, it is a way better, more convenient than this thing. I think, the Apple Vision Pro stuff will get cheaper. It'll get smaller. It'll get better, just like anything else over time. But it is a really neat experience. And I'm curious to see whether the product survives. And if so, how does it iterate from here? Because I feel like it's just too expensive for most people, and it is. But I think if they got it down to maybe the $1,500 price point, like basically cut the price in half,
sure,
and somehow figure out, the app situation for it to make it a little bit better. Because right now, for me, its killer feature was literally as a monitor for my MacBook. Like to be in a hotel room and working off a 60-inch, wide screen in front of my face was way better than sitting in front of a 16-inch or 14-inch MacBook, monitor display. So definitely there is some value there.
You say likening it to a 60-inch monitor. What's the effect on your eyes? How do your eyes feel looking at that thing? Any problems? Or
so this is an area that the product makes a big difference. So with the Apple Vision Pro, it has a very high refresh rate. So it's very smooth. I think it's like 120 hertz per eye or something like that. And then it also has 4K resolution for each eye. So there is no like screen door effect kind of thing that you're looking through. Lower quality still has those limitations where it's a lower resolution, lower frame rate. And so it's not as good. But the eye fatigue with the Apple Vision Pro is significantly less than like a normal headset.
Gotcha. Well, I will say that, to our wide array of listeners that we have, I don't know, maybe 10, 20, I think Apple owes us some money for that ringing endorsement you just gave them.
Yeah. So if Apple wants to sponsor a FOJ show,
yes,
Jay and I will happily take a couple of Apple Vision Pros. We won't be greedy. We'll settle for the 256s. I mean, if you want to send it to everybody,
for sure,
that's fine.
In lieu of payment, I will take that. Absolutely.
So here's the cool thing that and this is ultimately why I just spent 15 minutes talking about this. Metallica just put out a 3D concert experience for the Apple Vision Pro.
No kidding.
And so you can watch Metallica play like in 3D and like, in this immersive environment with, the Apple Vision Pro and stuff like that. So it just came out, I want to say like just a couple days ago, if I remember.
Wow. It's so funny that a group like Metallica would attach themselves. Who would have thought that a band who roughly 44 years ago put out an album called Kill 'Em All would hook themselves up with arguably the greatest software computer company ever.
Well, considering too that they were so anti like Napster and all these streaming services.
Anti-establishment, anti-everything. I mean, it's like, I liken it to when, Dr. Dre sold the Beats. I put his name on Beats. And, it's like these guys who come from nowhere have built themselves into these huge potentially multi-million, maybe even billionaires eventually. It's just crazy.
Yeah. So there you go. Go to the Apple Store, book a demo for the Vision Pro, and then watch the Metallica concert thing. They used like 14 different cameras of like this special immersive camera thing that you need to make like this content with to like pull this together. And if it's like other immersive experiences, you can actually get up and walk around the set while they're playing. And if you have headphones in, it will be in like Atmos. Yeah. And you'll hear, oh, there's James to my right and Lars to my left and, blah, blah, blah. Right. And as you move around, it changes, right? The dynamic.
That's wild.
It is a super cool experience.
That's wild. Yeah. I mean, I love watching Metallica on YouTube in my little surround sound deal in my basement. And I think that's the greatest thing ever. I can only imagine what this looks and sounds like. I'll bet it is absolutely amazing.
So here's the cool thing, right? If NBA is doing a good job with technology like this, you can watch games through like MetaQuest and other like headset type stuff. Like Samsung has some stuff too, where it's like you're sitting on the sideline and there's like different spots that you could like move around. So you can watch an NBA game like from courtside.
Did we talk about it? It was the NFL, like you're watching it from the end zone?
Yeah, and there's I can see plenty of sports like trying to figure out how to have this happen, right? Can you imagine?
Sure.
Being in the huddle of an NFL game and, listening, to the play call come in, right? Or, trying to look over the guys if it was all life size, right? As you're trying to throw the ball, right? Or you're able to, live within a 3D replay of the game where you can basically look the video and say, what hole did you see here, right? And you're wearing the headset and you say, oh, that's the A gap, the B gap, C gap, right? And it teaches you, or the stuff, stuff like that. I mean, I can think of a lot of really neat applications. Obviously the technology's got to like catch up from like a price and a performance standpoint. And then of course, how do you actually capture the content, right? Do you imagine being in, let's say Marshawn Lynch was wearing a camera inside his helmet. And when he had, the Beast Quake run and the playoffs, can you imagine being able to relive that from his point of view? Or separate out from it and see other players, their cameras that they're watching? And, what they're seeing.
What if they were able to put a camera in every NFL helmet? And then you were able to, everybody, like every player had their own, what is it called? Apple Vision Pro, is that what it's called? Mm-hmm. Okay. Every player has that. And then they spend like their meetings this is the new way to break down film.
Yeah.
What did you see here? What did the right guard see here? What did the wide receiver see here? What did the quarterback see as he was panning around, checking off and all that stuff? I'll bet you
imagine the teaching applications.
Oh my God. The NFL will get there. I'm just thinking out loud. They'll get there.
Yeah. Like I think that's a sport that, does very well with first person view, right?
Yes.
Being able to like see what the quarterback sees, like you said, or, what does Ray Lewis see when he's lined up and he's trying to diagnose what the offense is doing, right? What's Peyton Manning doing, right? When he's calling the offense and saying Omaha, right? I mean, just the fact though, you can like be there though is such an interesting and exciting experience. I hope that it gets to that point by the time, I finally kick the bucket, but who knows?
Yeah. No, that would be so wild. Now I'm thinking you could do it in the NFL. I think you could do it in the NHL. Same thing. Put it on each helmet.
Imagine a batter or even an umpire or a catcher trying to call balls and strikes.
I say
have like a strike zone.
A catcher definitely, because he's the guy who can see everything. He's the only one in the field who can really see everything at the same time. Hitter. God, basketball would be tough. I don't know how you build that into basketball because they don't wear anything.
Well, they have a bunch of sensors. So what they've done for the NBA is every NBA jersey has a bunch of sensors in it, and they track with cameras from the scoreboard in the middle of the court, looking down. And so they have metrics to show where every player is at all times, how far back and forth they're running, blah, 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 right across, back and forth the entire game. So it's not like a first person view, but if you wanted to recreate the game, you absolutely could with the available metrics that are now based on the player, what they're wearing, the motions they're taking. That's probably how they do it
when they game cast games like over ESPN. Okay. See, I'm learning tech, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of cool shit. And I don't know what else to say other than you got to go check it out. If you haven't tried it, anybody's listening, it's free. Just go check it out. It'll probably cost you, the time to commute to the Apple store, and then maybe half hour, an hour, however long their demo is. And then you just have to be prepared to walk away because you're going to want to get it.
Yeah,
but it's crazy expensive, and I do not actively encourage anyone to get it unless you have, liquid income, right? And you can, blow money on that kind of thing.
Yeah, I wish I had that kind of disposable income, but at this time I don't, and I don't see me having it anytime soon. So,
it's not worth it. There'll be a version 2 at this point. We're a year out already from the first one, so I would wait and see what version 2 looks like. But it is super cool, and I just, the sports applications are really intriguing. They have like apps you can like watch. It like pairs with your TV, and you can watch like F1 racing. So you have like F1 on your screen, and then you're wearing the Apple Vision Pro, and you're seeing like a 3D model of the course and all the different cars going around it, and you can get up. It's it's crazy, like all the stuff that this could be coming down the road for us.
It's crazy because if we see that in my lifetime, I remember like when we first got the original Atari, and the original video games, playing Combat and Space Invaders and that kind of thing. And to see the technology world come from that to this in the span of one lifetime is unbelievable to me.
And if you haven't played a video game recently, the graphics are crazy good.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
All right, we just spent 40 minutes talking about a bunch of stuff. We haven't even touched on the Chicago Bears or NFL or anything else sports-wise. It's been a couple weeks. Several moves have been made. Dare I say it? Are the Chicago Bears winning this offseason?
I think an argument could be made that, yeah. I mean,
did we fix the offensive line already?
Okay, I think in the short term, the answer is yes. Because you're looking at 3 new starters, 3 interior starters, which they desperately needed. They needed 2 guards. We talked about that. They needed a center. We talked about that. If they could upgrade at left tackle, I think they still will. But it's no longer a desperate need, right? Braxton Jones is definitely serviceable. Not terrible. Darnell Wright is an ascending NFL tackle. He's getting better every year. So now you replace Tevin Jenkins, Coleman Shelton, and Nate Davis / Matt Pryor with 4-time Super Bowl winning guard Joe Thuney from the Kansas City Chiefs. Drew Dahlman.
For a 4th round pick.
For a 4th round pick, correct. Now, he's in the last year of his contract. I did look that up. So, and he is a little bit older. I mean, offensive line guys play well into their 30s. Late 30s, if they're good. So, extending him, would be something worth looking at. Drew Dahlman, arguably the best center available in free agency. He's been linked to the Bears ever since the season ended. They lock him up for 3 years, $42 million as a free agent. And then they signed Jonah Jackson for a 6th round pick, or they traded from the Rams for a 6th round pick. He was in the first year of a 3-year deal. He only played 4 games this year because he has a shoulder issue. But signed through 2027, and then the Bears have already given him a 1-year extension. So he's here for another 3 years as well. So now you've got, depending on how long they keep Thuney, you've got at least 3 guys, potentially 4, who are going to be with you the next at least 3 years.
Hopefully. Let's not talk about injuries, but
no, yeah, I mean, obviously,
this is almost the best case scenario. I know that they were trying to get was the other guy from Kansas City, but he went out. They locked him up on franchise tag or whatever.
They franchised him. Yes.
Yeah. So that wasn't going to happen unless they paid a shit ton of money for that. But
right. But what's nice is them franchising Smith made Tooney available.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they didn't want to pay Tooney, I guess, because they knew they were going to have to extend him. It's like, hey, you got to pick one or the other. So, yeah, this is best case scenario as far as the offensive line goes. I mean, you're going into the draft not absolutely having to have a starting offensive lineman come out of the draft now, which we thought that they would need that no matter what. Should they still draft one or two linemen? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I think you draft linemen every year. But yeah, as far as free agency / trades, all that stuff, absolutely it's best case scenario. And I forget who said it. I think it was, what's his name? Dan Orlovsky on ESPN. He said the Bears now have a top 10 offensive line in football.
On paper.
So
I want to see this translate into game action and actually protecting the quarterback and running the football. Sure. But my gosh, I mean, we were shitting all over Ryan Poles, 3 months ago. We got to give him credit when credit is due. He went out and he has done a hell of a job in this offseason so far.
He has. And we'll get to the defense in a minute because there's a couple of moves that they made there as well. But I think when you hire a coach with the potential of Ben Johnson, you better do what the guy says and you better give him what he needs. Right. And obviously upgrades were needed and, they went out and did their absolute best to give him what he needs. And now it's basically on Ben Johnson and it's on Caleb, to make it go. So they also grabbed a receiver. I know I am going to mess up his name, so I'm not even going to try it.
Yeah, it's the guy from, Washington, right?
Yeah, here I am. I am going to try it. Oladame Zacchaeus.
There you go.
On just a 1-year deal from Washington. I think he was their number 3 last year.
Okay, so he's probably replacing Keenan, right?
Yeah, I would assume so.
And now you've got a third string wide receiver who doesn't command as much attention, which is probably not a good thing, but does not require as many balls thrown his way.
It allows Rome to move up to number 2.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's more of a slot guy. So now you can put DJ and Rome on the edges, and here's your 3 receivers that are now more suited to do the things that they're supposed to do. So I like that signing. They also signed a tight end from the Dolphins, Durham Smith, whatever.
Durham, yeah.
I don't know a whole lot about him.
He's a blocker. I don't think you'll see him do anything else other than block.
Yeah. But again, that allows Kmet to be the pass-catching tight end that we all hoped he would be last year. So, yeah, I think their offense is going to look, I will say, drastically different in my eyes, because now you've got a line that should be able to protect Caleb and allow Caleb to do what hopefully he's supposed to do.
Yeah,
now
this is exciting.
It is exciting. It is very exciting.
They're going to get me again. I'm going to sign up for NFL Sunday Ticket again. And
I know.
They better make it worth it.
I know. But with these new guys, I've said it to some buddies and stuff, with these new guys and a new coach, it's almost like you're drafting Caleb all over again. Because everything's going to be brand new.
Mm-hmm.
New scheme, new plays, new, protection, all that stuff. It's all brand new. It's like, you bought a new car here. So I'm hoping that it all translates to success.
I think that's what everyone's hoping for. But yes, it's exciting. It's great that we're winning on paper.
Yes.
I want to see it turn into actual games, but I will be cautious optimistic. I think, we got the draft coming up next. So I think this opens up a lot more flexibility by them having solved for quite a bit of the offensive line already. I think if there's still a top tier player at that level, you still got to consider it, but it gives them more flexibility.
It does, and
to take the best available.
Yeah, let's not forget. They did add 2 guys on defense. Let's see, Dio Odingbo. I don't know if that's pronounced correctly, but hey, pass rusher, 3 years, $48 million from the Colts, and Grady Jarrett, defensive tackle, 3 years, $43.5 million from the Falcons. And in both press conferences between Drew Dahlman and Grady Jarrett, because they used to be teammates, they could not say enough about each other because they went up against each other every day in practice.
Yeah, that's what they're going to say. Their teammates now, they're going to have to. I want to hear, the truth. Like, I hate that fucking guy. Like, give me the real feelings. But hey, they're on our team now, and they're teammates, and they're probably going to be going after that offensive line in practice. So let's get after it.
What's cool is when you listen to these guys in the press conferences, it's like they sound professional. They sound like they know what they're talking about. They're easy to understand. They sound intelligent. They just sound like pros, and that's what you want. So that's
professional
good.
Football players.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so your defensive line is going to look like Sweat, Jarrett, Dexter, and Odingbo. I got to get used to saying that name. But they still have Austin Booker, who they drafted last year. They still have Andrew Billings in the middle. And I'm sure they're going to add some guys. But like you said, this now allows them to potentially draft for best player available as opposed to draft for need, especially at the top. Some guys, there are some needs, I think, but they're not as glaring as they used to be. They do need a strong side linebacker as they let go of Jack Sanborn. He's signed with Dallas. They probably need more, like we talked about, offensive line depth, defensive line depth. Another question mark is strong safety. We don't know what Jaquan Brisker is going to look like. Is he fully healthy? Is that concussion still a thing? I know they've got Jonathan Owens, but is he an everyday NFL starter? He's decent, but I don't know. And there's talk of them wanting potentially another running back. They love the dude. Everybody loves the dude from Boise State, thinking he might be there at number 10. Do you draft him?
I have a hard time drafting a running back that high.
I do too.
Just because they're so interchangeable now, and they just, they're not the hot commodity that they used to be. I feel like you can get decent running backs off the bench somewhere.
But they're saying this dude's the next Barry Sanders.
Okay.
I know.
They've said the same thing for tons of running backs, and yet the NFL doesn't pay them other than Saquon Barkley.
Right.
It's a very difficult position to play. It's a very difficult position to have any sort of, length and tenure within it to be good. You're probably talking, 3 to 5 years of really solid production if you're lucky. And then when's the last time you have like a really long-term running back be with one team? And the team being focused on running the ball. Like Emmitt Smith, LaDainian Tomlinson, Marshall Faulk, right? They don't exist anymore.
They don't make guys like that anymore. They don't have guys like that anymore. I think the last guy I could think of is probably Zeke Elliott from Dallas.
Yeah, he's a bruising back, and look at him. Now he jumped into a pot at the end of a touchdown, and he never came out of it. It seems like. Right. Other than you've got Saquon, who's an outlier. I think you could say if he's healthy, Christian McCaffrey is another one of those players, but he's not a 25 carry back anymore. Those positions just don't exist anymore. I think the 49ers is actually a really good example of we'll take fucking anybody and throw them in at running back, and they're going to be productive. Right. They went and traded Jordan Mason the other day to somebody. I don't remember who, or I think it was Minnesota. Right?
Yeah.
And he was their four-string running back coming in because everyone else ahead of him got injured. Dude's going to get, probably paid, based off of half of a season of effort.
Yeah, unless it's like you said, McCaffrey or Barkley or Derrick Henry. Guys just don't run for 100 yards anymore because it's usually 2 guys that do the job,
Yes.
And
which I'm okay with. I just don't want to pay. Sure. I don't want to. I have a hard time drafting that high, knowing that you're almost drafting a part-time player or a player who is. You'll be lucky to get 3 to 5 years of first round top 10 talent production.
Well, supposedly this draft is pretty running back heavy. So yeah, if they don't draft Genty at 10, I'm good with that. There's another name out there that they're saying if he's
maybe
there
a guy
at 10,
from North Carolina, Mario Hampton, like his name has been out there.
There's him. There's that what the hell? The guy from Iowa, I forget his name. And there's a couple others. They're also touting the guy, the tight end from Penn State. What's his name? Tyler Warren. He's another one who they're saying, hey, if he's at 10, do you draft him? And then, because Ben Johnson likes having 2 tight ends. I forget who the other one was across from Laporta in Detroit. But again, do you spend that high on a guy that is going to split plays with Cole Kmet, you know? I don't know. You know, then there's the lineman that we've talked about. There's also the defensive lineman from Michigan, Mason Graham. I don't know if he's going to make it to 10. What's interesting is the quarterback situation in the NFL is changing quickly, and not as many teams need quarterbacks anymore that are must. I think the Giants do. The Giants still need one. Mm-hmm. Tennessee, maybe, if they're giving up on Will Levis. But other than that, nothing really screams quarterback to me. In at least at the top of the draft. I mean, I know you got Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. There's not a whole lot else available. But, you know, we have quarterbacks changing teams. We saw Geno Smith go to Vegas, Sam Darnold to Seattle. We'll talk about that. Justin Fields to the Jets to be their starter. Daniel Jones went to the Colts. He's going to compete with Anthony Richardson, I guess. And, you know, somebody's going to have to, probably another vet's going to have to go to Minnesota. We've heard, or I know I've heard Aaron Rodgers, which, you know, we talked about with Phil 2 weeks ago, that would probably be a bad idea, but I'm starting to see it more and more and more. So it might happen. You got Russell Wilson still out there. Pittsburgh needs to decide what they want to do. So yeah, there's obviously a lot to still be figured out for teams. So
yeah, I think the two names right now are Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, and then it would surprise me if either of those two signed before the draft. Only because I think the teams that are left have relatively high draft spots, and they may try to figure out either something there or, you know, just kind of be willing to content to wait. Like, I would not reach for either of those players.
No, I wouldn't either. It'd be interesting to see what the Steelers do, because, I mean, they had Fields and Wilson, and it seems like, obviously, Fields wanted a guaranteed starting spot, and he got that in New York, and it sounds like they don't want to bring back Russell Wilson. So they're going to be starting over with whoever. And then
Rudolph Mason.
Yeah.
Or Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, Mason Rudolph. That's right. Or, you know, are the Vikings just going to hand that job to McCarthy and run with it? Or do they want to use a guy like Rodgers as a bridge to McCarthy?
For what?
I know.
Rodgers is not a teacher. He's a cancer. I mean, I hate Aaron Rodgers with a passion.
He's a total tool. We've talked about it.
I don't know how he helps McCarthy get better.
He doesn't.
He's a win now quarterback, and I think he's a cancer as a player for a team. And so I just don't think he's a good fit. I think Russell Wilson fits into that same as well. I don't think Russell Wilson is well liked in many locker rooms, and his best days are behind him.
Yeah, his best days are behind him. Is it just his ego, do you think?
I think it is.
Okay.
That whole Danger Russ alter ego he has, and just like, whatever, man. Like, you're not that good. You had a couple great years in Seattle, but
he doesn't come off as a tool in interviews like Rodgers does.
He doesn't.
He
And I think he's a sneaky tool, if that makes
so
sense.
it's all behind the scenes, right?
I think so. Like,
okay.
and I know in Denver, like there was a lot of talk about him having his own office and not like practicing with the team or team meetings, and like he was off doing his own thing. And so, right or wrong, I think it's the kind of stuff that reputation follows you. And I don't see him as a teacher either. Did he do anything for Justin Fields last year?
No.
Or then take over the starting job from him and then never let it go?
Right.
How does that help you if you're in Minnesota and you have another rookie quarterback there?
Yeah, I think you could make the argument that he took over the job but played worse than Fields did. And
on the balance,
that was totally Tomlin's decision for whatever reason, which I thought was very strange. But I don't know. What I am trying to figure out is, why did the Seahawks sign Sam Darnold but trade DK Metcalf?
I don't know, man. That's baffling.
Make sense to me.
I don't know why they got rid of Geno Smith either. Geno's has been a resurgent, there for that team.
Yeah.
Is he the best quarterback? No, but Sam Darnold better? I don't think so.
No. They gave him over $30 million a year.
I know, man. I texted you. I was like, so where were you when you found out that the Seahawks are paying their dude $30 million a year? Like, I'm somewhere over Florida right now flying to Orlando. I don't get it, man. Like, good for him. Hey, player, go get your money. Do what you gotta do.
For sure.
How is that an upgrade over what you had in Geno Smith?
I don't think it
maybe
is. But Darnold's been around a little bit, right?
Yeah. I mean, Geno Smith has been around, but I don't know why that is that much different of a quarterback.
Right.
Like, it doesn't seem like there's that much of a difference.
I don't think there is. And then, okay, so they trade Metcalf, and the Steelers give him $150 million over 5 years. I think that's nuts. I think that's crazy.
And without having a quarterback to throw to him.
Right.
Which is even better. I mean, what's the plan there in Pittsburgh? I don't understand that. And I don't know why you let DK walk. He's one of the top wide receivers in the game. Unless you're just in a full rebuild now in Seattle, which I guess that's what if they let their longtime quarterback go, they signed for Sam Darnold. I don't think he's a long-term solution. You let your running, or you let your top wide receiver go as well. Like, what is the identity now of the Seattle Seahawks?
Okay, so I just looked it up. So Geno Smith is 34. So in terms of quarterback, yeah, he's a little older, but he's definitely not over the hill.
Yeah, he's probably got another 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, but Sam Darnold, when the NFL season starts, will only be 28. I thought he was older than that. So maybe
he looks older. He's a weathered man.
He is, because he was drafted by the Jets. He played in he was on the Carolina roster. I don't know how much he played. And then obviously the year in Minnesota. So he's now on his 4th team.
I mean, the only thing you think of is they see Geno on the decline, which would make sense, right? Just the age thing. So they definitely got younger.
Yeah.
But I just don't see the ceiling for Sam Darnold. He caught lightning in a bottle, so to speak, with the Vikings last year. He's throwing to Justin Jefferson. He's got, great running backs up there to take the pressure off him. Now he's in Seattle.
And arguably the best quarterback coach in the NFL.
Right. O'Connell. And so now you've got what in Seattle? Like, what is the Seattle offense? What is their identity?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I guess will the real Sam Darnold please stand up? I mean, we'll find out.
They're paying him $30 million. I mean,
they sure are.
I don't know.
They sure are.
I would think you figure out a way to keep DK Metcalf to have somebody he can throw to, but I guess not.
Yeah, what they have? What's his name? Jackson Smith and Jigba, whatever that dude, and they still have Tyler Lockett. I don't even know. Those are the only 2 receivers I can think of in Seattle. Hell, I haven't paid attention to a Seattle receiver since Steve Largent, for Christ's sake. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't understand the strategy there.
Yeah, I don't know.
But hey,
I don't know.
That's why you and I do a podcast, and I guess they're running the teams.
Yeah, I guess. The other move and there's been others. I mean, was it Joey Bosa's going to Buffalo? Sorry, dude. Devontae Adams. Yeah, Devontae Adams to the Rams. Josh Sweat leaving the Eagles, going to the Cardinals. The one move that I thought was strange was the trade of Laramie Tunsil. I think he's a tackle for the Texans. One of the best tackles in all of football. They trade him to the Commanders. And I don't know what they got for him, but CJ Stroud, I mean, he had an awesome rookie year, but I think he took a step back. And now you trade his best protector. What's the deal there? What happened there?
I mean, they're definitely going into win now mode because they also traded for Deebo Samuel. So Washington has some weapons.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, while you have Jaden Daniels on the rookie contract, I mean, load up, man.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, for sure. Right.
Which is what the Bears are doing. Which is exactly what the Bears are doing.
Yeah. They go and get Laramie Tunsil. They get they've made a ton of moves. 15 or 20 signings within the free agency period here. Some of them are re-signs, right? But some of them are free agents. The only thing I can think of is our window is now. We're going to go get it. We've got Scary Terry. We've got Debo. We've got Jaden Daniels. And I don't know who their running back is, but and they're beefing up the offensive line. So, yeah. Go for it.
Well, I think that's I think you could make an argument that that's what the Bears are doing.
Yeah. I mean,
because,
these fresh these fresh rookie quarterbacks, you should be building your offensive around them.
You sign all these dudes to 3-year contracts that are within the rookie window, right? And then you draft guys to replace them when they're done. Then when you got to go pay Caleb, right? So
hopefully that's the best case scenario is that you do need to go and pay Caleb because that means he's
Oh God, if the Chicago Bears have to go through this again in another 3 years,
but that's what they've done for the last couple decades.
I know. Well, they've been there.
That's a great problem to have is to say, oh shit, we got to pay Caleb. That means Caleb has
yes,
we've solved the quarterback position for the first time in 3 decades.
Yeah, he's delivered as advertised. Right. Absolutely.
Right. I would rather have that problem. Don't get me wrong.
Oh,
but then it becomes harder too, right? So how do you keep these players together and how are you going to keep them healthy, which means you got to continue spending offensive line. What suffers because you're spending more money on offensive line and you having to pay Caleb, that's taking money from somewhere else. So, do you try and follow the Kansas City blueprint and get just a bunch of no-name wide receivers and kind of fill in the cracks? Spot check it with a couple veterans maybe that are on, 1-2 year deals and hope that your coaching and your quarterback play carries you further. I mean, that's a strategy.
Yeah. And then, but what's Kansas City always had? A strong offensive line. What do the Eagles have? A strong offensive line. Now the Eagles have already paid Jalen Hurts and they have a strong line. They've paid Saquon Barkley. I don't know the contract situations of who is it, Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, but a lot of their money is in the offense, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we've said it time and time again. Successful teams have offensive line success, and hopefully the Bears have that this coming year. I hope so. God.
Yeah, AJ Brown is signed through 2029.
Okay,
so he's not going anywhere. But
and I think
you never know. With these, players can refuse to play or request a trade, right, or whatever.
Yeah, and I think Devontae is still he's on the tail end of a rookie deal, I believe. But I mean, hey, he won the Heisman, so he's no slouch either.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to see the Bears using up that cap space. So let's see what happens.
They still have some.
Yeah, like 30 million, I think, something like that.
Yeah, obviously they need to sign, their draft picks and fill the roster out because they had they had a crap ton of free agents. I mean, just depth, or just, well, I guess if you want to call it depth or whatever, but they still, I think, have another fairly major move to be made if they want to. I don't know what's still out there. I mean,
yeah, I don't know what. I mean, it would have to be a trade, maybe on draft day.
Yeah.
I don't know who they would. I don't even know what they would want to go get. Maybe a linebacker.
Yeah,
another
maybe.
Offensive line or defensive lineman. Is there a wide receiver that you would trade for at this point? I can't think of one.
I mean, it depends. I mean, why wouldn't you call? I mean, would you call Keenan Allen and say, "Hey, man, if we give you $9 million, you want to come back on a 1 year?" He probably doesn't want that. But the fact that he's still out there, obviously, as days go by, the value goes down, right, on the street. So, I don't know. It's good that they just have money available to do what they need to do, and now they can go into the draft and draft best player available potentially, and they can kind of, like you said, just have a ton more flexibility. So,
yeah, I don't want to see them fall into the trap of, well, we have the money, we have to spend it.
Right, right.
Spend it smart, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if there's not a player that you think is going to be like, I don't want to see like 1 year players unless they're cheap and to fill in a gap, or we think they might be a bridge into, another contract down the road, right? Something like that. But don't spend the money just because you have it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, because the only 3 ex-Bears that signed of any substance at all, and you can make an argument that they have no substance, is, like I said, Jack Sanborn went to Dallas, Coleman Shelton went back to the Rams, and Velus Jones Jr. is going to be a New Orleans Saint. So have fun with that, New Orleans. But other than that, as far as I could tell, everybody else, and it's a list of about 20 dudes, they're still out there. So shows you how the league values ex-Bears.
Yeah. All right. What else you got?
Other than that, it's kind of a dead zone in sports, man. The Cubs are in Japan. I don't know if you've been following that.
Have not.
Bart's been following that. I know, what is it? They play the Dodgers Tuesday and Wednesday. I think they played a couple exhibitions with some of the local teams there. I don't know how they've done. But, that's exciting.
Sure.
It's probably more exciting for your wife than it is you, but
I don't think she's cared either. So
really,
I don't. Okay. We don't have a way to watch the Chicago Cubs, I think, at this point. Is there a way? They're on Marquee?
Yeah, I don't think
they're on any streaming network.
If you want to pay $20 a month, you can get the Marquee network, and
I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, there is a long-standing record that nobody thought would be broken that is probably going to be broken within the next month, and that is career goals in the NHL by Wayne Gretzky. I believe Alex Ovechkin, I think, is within, is it 9? Maybe 8?
I think it's 10, something like that.
Okay, something like that.
It's 7 goals.
7 goals. Okay. So that is pretty amazing. I mean, Gretzky has long been considered the greatest player ever. Hence why he's nicknamed the Great One.
So I'm looking at the stats right now. Gretzky has 894 goals and 1,487 games played. Fantastic, right? Ovechkin, 1,477 games played. So, what is that? 10 less games, 887 goals. Wow. So pretty comparable there. And then it gets ridiculous because
I know
then you look at assists. Gretzky has 1,900. Ovechkin has 700 points. 2,800 to 1,600. Shorthanded goals, 73-5. Like, okay, that's great that the goal record, but it is still not even close as to who the best player is.
Well, there's there's a distinct difference that most hockey fans understand, but maybe the general sports fan doesn't. Goal scoring and point scoring are two totally different things.
Yep.
Like Gretzky, he could have never scored a goal in the league ever, and still have the most career points that in the history of the game, which is amazing.
Yeah, I mean that's nuts if you think about it.
Yeah,
he would
no
be
kidding.
he would be number one still in points without a single goal scored.
Yeah, amazing. I know.
What's amazing to me is Ovechkin. He's done this all with one team.
Capitals. Yeah.
I mean, most players, right? they spend a couple years here, there, everywhere, but he's a lifer.
Especially in hockey, guys move around in hockey a lot. I mean, even the greatest player ever played for Edmonton,
Kings,
LA,
St. Louis,
New
the
York.
Rangers. Yep.
Yes. So guys move around all the time, but Ovechkin, Capitals, has been a staple there for a long time. Yeah. So,
well, good for him.
But
it's interesting.
It's something to note because, nobody thought that anybody would ever get close to Gretzky, and, it's kind of cool. I mean, it's always cool to see history, I think, when an all-time record is broken that people thought maybe never was going to be broken, that's pretty cool. So,
yeah. Do you see that another record was it the Mavericks didn't have no players left on their team? They're like so hurt that I think they fielded like only 6 or 7 players on their roster right now, and they're like in danger of forfeiting games.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah. There's a game today. I'd have to look it up, but I think there's like 12 players on the court right now between both teams.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So sucks to be the Mavs, having traded all these players away, and they are in danger of, if they get 1 or 2 more injuries, they may have a problem here.
Wow, that's interesting. That is interesting. So I'm looking up a story, and I'm trying to figure out what happened. So back in 2022, this is totally off the wall, but I saw this today. So there's a guy who was playing with the Lakers, I think at the time. His name is Kentavious Caldwell Pope. Back in 2022. It's a great name.
He's known right there.
Yes, he's known in the league as KCP. Kind of sounds like a drug. I know. You high on KCP? Yes. So anyway, I read that this guy he had some legal issues, and I'm trying to figure out what they are, but he got into something that was bad enough to where he could only play games in California because he played with an ankle monitor on during the game, like legal. And I saw this today. I'm like, wait a minute. That is nuts to me. The guy said that a guy has a legal issue enough to have an ankle monitor on him. He doesn't have it on now. This is 3 years ago.
This was 2017 when he wore this thing.
Yeah, he was charged. Okay,
so he was on a work release program. Yeah, I guess he violated
with a felony. Yeah. Wow. Could you imagine?
He must be pretty damn good. If
that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, why did the Lakers keep him?
All right, so let's say, Jay, let's just say something happens and you have to wear an ankle monitor. What would your employer do?
Oh man,
I think they would. Would they keep you? They're like, Jay, love you, man, but we can't have this.
They would depend on the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if it was of a certain...
depends on the crime, I guess, right? Or whatever it is.
Yeah, it depends on the crime. Believe it or not, I want to say they would keep me because I think I'm valuable, but I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely replaceable. I mean,
is there any other job other than the president of the United States currently, where you could wear an ankle monitor and and your employer would be like, oh yeah, that's fine. We'll figure it out. I can tell you right now, that would not happen in my line of work, and that would not happen in probably most. That would not happen
in most lines of work, I don't think, especially here in Illinois, which is employer at will state. They could pretty much fire you for any reason if they wanted to, and usually I would think an ankle bracelet would be enough to let somebody go, and that would be interesting.
Yeah, sorry, I can't make my calls and go into Wisconsin because I'm not allowed to leave the state. What?
Yeah, so...
Yeah, I find it hilarious that for whatever reason, sports seems to have like this, okay, well, they can throw a basketball in the hoop, or they can throw a football, or, shoot a hockey puck or hit a baseball. So, yeah, you know what? We'll figure it out. It'll be fine.
It's been like that for years, though.
I know, but I think it's hilarious.
It is hilarious. It's like professional athletes are like protected more often than not, right? I mean, we've seen
if you're rich, that's really the common denominator. Rich, and you have a physical skill that can't be replaced, apparently.
Yeah, we've seen videos of NFL players unfortunately beating girlfriends and beating wives, and they never wind up in jail.
What was the guy from Baltimore? He paid the price.
Yeah, he's who I'm thinking of.
Ray, what was his name? Not Ray.
Ray Rice.
Yeah, Ray Rice.
Ray Rice, yes.
He definitely, got blackballed and never played again.
No, he never played again. But look at Ray Lewis. I mean, the guy...
killed a guy, allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly murdered somebody.
Right.
And, made it... all kinds of drug issues way back in the 80s in baseball.
Was it Ray Carruth? Remember him? Didn't he
Carruth, he went, he
kill his girlfriend or something? And
killed his girlfriend. He did wind up in jail.
The only reason he's news is because he was a somewhat famous football player.
Yeah. I remember, what is it? Who was the guy? Was it Tank Johnson for the Bears? Had a gun charge?
There was a guy recently that had like a drug thing, right? Where he was like a drug mule or...
Oh, yes. Oh, what was that? He was a receiver. But yeah, he was a huge like drug kingpin. What the hell was that guy's name?
Sam Hurd.
Yes. There was a White Sox pitcher who afterwards, Esteban Loaiza, was a huge drug kingpin, I think, in Mexico. It went to jail. I mean, hell, you could make an argument that, okay, if O.J. Simpson wasn't O.J. Simpson, would he have been found guilty? That kind of thing. I mean, he had arguably the best defense team money could buy. So,
Hey, man, that glove didn't fit, so...
I know. You must have quit. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of shit going on, but I think it's hilarious to be watching a player, especially in the NBA with an ankle monitor. You can't hide that shit. I mean, I can't imagine the jokes, and I would be sitting there trying to think of ways, all right, there's got to be a joke there about, are those the new, Air Jordan, Nike Max Prison or something like that,
Well,
shoes.
It's so funny because he was playing for the Lakers, so I saw the picture. He had his, his yellow and purple shoe, yellow socks, and this black can be ankle bracelet stuck out like a sore thumb. I'm going to do some research on that this week, and I'll follow up next week with why he had it and what the circumstances around that was. I just found that to be hilarious. I don't know why. I just did. I thought it was awesome.
Oh, it is hilarious. I wish there was, frankly, I wish there were more stories like that. So
yes,
I guess good on you for remembering that.
Yeah, I don't know where I saw it. It just kind of came across today. I'm like, oh my God, I totally forgot that happened. And yeah, I'm going to do some digging on that one. Because I thought it was.
Well, I did the digging for you. Apparently, it was related to driving while intoxicated or operating a vehicle while intoxicated. I'm not sure there's a difference.
Oh, well, that happens all the time.
Right. And then he violated his probation, which is what caused him to have to wear an ankle monitor.
Dumbass.
So, yeah.
Dumbass, man.
Dumbass.
Yeah.
I mean, he got all the money in the world. And wasn't there a Chicago Bears player? Was it like Lance Briggs or somebody? Like, didn't he like wreck his car or whatever?
Not only did he wreck his car, but I think he left it there.
Yeah, like, okay, no one's going to find this. Like in the middle of the street.
No punishment at all. None.
No, you got money. You got money. The laws don't apply. If you can
money
pay the
talks.
Money for it.
I know. Money talks, man. If you can grease any wheel, you'll get where you're going. So
start saving now, kids. If you're a professional athlete or you want to be, start putting money into that legal fund.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Speaking of the kids, I went, oh my God. So this is so bad. So I told you I'm coaching this baseball team, right? Mm-hmm. And we had practice this morning. One thing that bugs me is laziness when it comes to sports. I freaking hate it. So the kids were warming up, just playing catch and, just trying to get started. And I'm telling you, balls were being dropped. Balls were going all over the place. I mean, these kids aren't 10. They're not little. They're 13. By that time, you should be able to catch baseball. So finally, remember, I don't have a kid on this team. So finally, I'm like, you know what? Screw this. I stopped practice. The other two coaches are just standing there. I stopped practice. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, I had one kid who I like a great deal. And he's trying to throw the ball like 100 miles an hour to a kid who's standing roughly 30, 35 feet away from him. And mind you, we're in this small space. So you got baseballs flying around, there's not a whole lot of control. And I finally, this was the phrase I used. I said, if you're throwing the ball as hard as you can at your partner, I go, you're an asshole. Don't be an asshole for doing that. And I just went nuts. And I don't do that very often, but I'm like, this needs to stop. So we started practice all over again. And I felt bad, but afterwards I felt like, wow, I've never done this before. I mean, this is I know you're talking 9:30 on a Sunday morning, and I know it's it's early on a Sunday, and we just had practice on Saturday and all that stuff, and I'm just like, let's get it right. But I will tell you, after that happened, we had one of the best practices we've ever had. So it was cool. It's just I am learning more and more about kids and how to coach them, because as I get older, it becomes a little bit different. And with me not having my own kid on the team, I can look at everything objectively, and it's an interesting experience. So, and I'm happy to report that one of our esteemed colleagues, Justin, is going to start volunteer coaching at his local high school in April.
There you go.
You could take the baseball out of him, but you can't take him out of baseball. So
no, man, you and your kids are baseball lifers.
Yeah, we're locked in.
That ain't changing.
We're locked in. So looking forward to hearing stories from Fort Collins High School and their baseball team starting in April. So he's really looking forward to that on a volunteer basis. So it'll be fun.
All right, well, good for him. That's cool.
Yeah, cool. So all I got, man.
All right. Well, we
went an hour and a half. So
yeah, close to an hour and a half. I'll take it. Late on a Sunday night, so been a couple weeks. We had some bunch to catch up. So
yeah,
you got homework, man. I really want you to check out the Apple Vision Pro, because
I will.
I want you to see the I mean, I don't have a chance because I don't have an Apple store near me, but
sure.
The Metallica concert sounds pretty awesome. So if you do go check it out, I want you to take notes. And
we have an Apple store in downtown Naperville, so yeah, not all that far from here. So
all right. Well, the closest one for me is about an hour away, I think.
Okay.
Grangel. So it's not super convenient.
If I can make that happen, I will. I will, though, check out, like the internet and all that stuff, and just, reviews and opinions and, yeah, all that stuff, and see what kind of virtual experience I could gain off of that. So we'll see.
Discovered any music recently?
I haven't. I am at a loss for anything new right now, because unlike you've got this musical palette that kind of goes everywhere, and I admire you for that. I am just locked into, I love my guitars, I love my drums, I love my rock. That's just how I am.
Nothing wrong with that.
And
you
the
like what
thing
you
is,
like.
though, not a lot of new is coming from that direction these days, and it hasn't really for a while. Maybe it is, and I'm just not aware of it. But I've got my go-tos, and I stick with it. And
What's
I
my
know I need
guitars?
to.
Did you check out? You checked out Royal Blood, right?
I did.
How about Seether?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, what's cool is I'm starting to go back to things that I used to like and haven't listened to in a while, if that makes any sense. Like,
What's
I know
a
we
Megadeth?
just... Oh, dude. Yes, I am all in on Megadeth. How they are not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame yet, I do not know.
Because the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a fucking joke.
It's garbage.
Why.
I know. But I think Dave Mustaine is probably in the top 10 of all-time guitar players.
I mean, how can he not be, dude? I mean, the guy's amazing.
Yeah. What is it? Oh, when we talked about the Orange incident, that concert itself took me back to Korn's first album.
Oh,
dude, I
love Korn.
I know. I listened to Freak on a Leash today on the way to practice, and I've had it in my head all day ever since.
So my favorite album for Korn is, let me look it up here real quick because I don't want to mess it up. But it's not one of their major hit albums. Where is it? Untouchables was a fantastic album. Fantastic, just a killer album. They had plenty of hits come out of it. Like, I think that's fine. But I think from start to finish, that might be one of their best albums. That might be their best album.
Okay, I'll visit that one.
Yeah, there are so many good Korn songs. I mean, Follow the Leader was iconic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just going back to, the classics in our world, things like, Pearl Jam's first album, Nirvana's first album. I forgot how much I really liked Soundgarden when they came out. That whole grunge thing was big for me. Alice in Chains, I just thought was
Alice
awesome.
Chains. Really, Jerry Cantrell is really the man, because he's even got some solo stuff that's great.
The funny thing about them is I saw Alice in Chains live. They opened for Van Halen. I forget the year, but it was before Facelift ever even came out. The album wasn't even out yet. And I thought they were horrible. I'm like, what the hell is this? How could Van Halen take these guys on the road? And then Facelift came out, and I was able to remember back to the concert, what I heard, and then, put it, obviously listen on the studio, love Facelift start to finish. And then their second album came out, I think it's called Dirt, if I'm not mistaken. And then I saw them again in a much smaller venue at the Riv in Chicago, and they were just absolutely amazing. Yeah. And I've been hooked on Alice in Chains ever since. So I've been
trying to... has this unique guitar sound too. It's like this, almost like a wail, sort of mournful.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it, but it is a very distinct sound that, and when you combine that with him and Lane Staley when he was alive, and putting some of the duet stuff that they would do together on some of the choruses was just nothing like it.
Yeah, they're very unique. Another band that I really started to go back and listen to, and there's two actually, and they're a lot more poppy, but I mean they're rock, but they're more poppy. Is In Excess and Duran Duran. I was a huge Duran Duran fan when I was younger, and they have a ton of good stuff.
What about System of a Down?
Yeah,
I think they've got. I liked them. I think when they kind of first came out, had the Toxicity album, but I've gotten more into them over the last couple of years.
They're very unique.
They are. I like it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of bands like them,
Yeah, and they only have a couple albums. Like there's
the lead singer's voice is very unique. And there's not a lot of bands that you could say, there's the band and there's not a lot like them. And I think System of a Down is one of those.
Yeah, and they didn't really get along. So like Serge Tankian, he's the singer, but Darren Malakian is the guitarist, and he's also really good. He's done some stuff on his own that I like.
Okay.
And I think if you get a chance to like listen to either of them, either together in System of a Down or separately, they've got some good stuff, man. Like it's not just the hits. If you just take a look at Toxicity or Mesmerize or Hypnotize is probably the other one, but there's some good stuff out there. And it reminds me a lot of kind of like Rage Against the Machine, but more rock, and then a little more crooning on some of the songs that you really wouldn't get from like a Rage.
Well, Rage is another band that's very unique, and there's not a lot of others like them. See, the 80s rock scene, a lot of those guys crossed over into each other's bands, and that's why a lot of their sounds are very similar.
Yeah, like Scars on Broadway.
I'm not saying like lead singers and stuff, but a lot of guitar players, a lot of drummers played in each other's stuff. So that's why the styles are very similar. But once you got, I think, into the 90s, I think everything was a little more unique and individual, and you don't have them nearly as much crossover musician-wise as you did in the 80s. So,
how about 6 a.m., Nikki Sixx's band?
Oh, yeah. With DJ Ashba, he was lead guitar player for
I don't remember who's
for a long
it,
time.
But yeah, they've got some good stuff. Like Life is Beautiful is fantastic song. Lies of the Beautiful People's another one. Like they got some good stuff. Like there's stuff out there.
Yeah, I mean DJ Ashba, he played in Guns N' Roses for a while.
Yeah.
Post when they were all fighting and
All that, no.
Yeah, which I'm sure they still do, but but yeah.
How about Wes Borland? Anything with him from Limp Bizkit? He's a genius guitar player too.
Oh, for sure. It's amazing how talented some of these guys really are.
Yeah, and they got kind of like, and if you didn't do the research, man, right, and you just only like heard the Limp Bizkit, like okay, whatever. It's like I don't know what it's called, what dad rock or yacht rock or I don't know whatever they call it now, right?
Yeah,
they were kind of a joke, but he's a really talented musician and performer. Like he's got an interesting story. It's like he likes to put on a performance. That's why he wears like weird shit like while he's playing. Is like he has like a theater background or whatever it is and likes to have that visual element to it.
Well, who's the guy?
That song Blacklight Burns that they have live, I think is just a killer song.
Yeah, no, he is an awesome, not just a musician, but like you said, he's just an awesome performer. Another guy who's got a ton of talent, but you think it's kind of a clown show, is the guy who, I forget his real name, but he goes by Buckethead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's just a gifted performer.
Yeah,
like, he's just...
wears the KFC bucket on his head and the mask, so you never see his face, but supposedly he has played on like over 200 albums in his career. So it's amazing how gifted some of these people really are. And it's like, God, they probably spend half their life drunk. How are they able to do this stuff?
I mean, they pick up a guitar and they just strum away, man. I mean, I've had this guitar in my office for 2 years now, and I probably haven't picked it up in like 6 months.
Well, I remember
the band
years
Expo,
ago.
were we making a comeback?
Well, I remember you and I believe, bought guitars on the same day. Think we bought the same guitar, and I was an idiot because I let the salesperson sell me a right-handed guitar when I knew I was left-handed. And I remember the sales guy saying, "Oh, you could just learn it this way." Yeah, no. I eventually sold that guitar to a cook at Batavia Chili's.
I traded mine for brake work.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I sold it for like $100.
Yeah, that was
that's one skill I wish I had picked up. I would love to.
Yeah, that's $100 I wish I had put towards an Apple Vision Pro about 30 years ago.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. All right, I think we're done.
Cool.
Good luck to you. Talk to you next week.
All right, man. I will try and get our pending guest to chit chat. We're actually going, well, weather pending. We're heading up to Minnesota next weekend for baseball, so I might have to go on Monday, but I will do my best to get a hold of him because he's got a pretty interesting story that I think is worth talking about. So,
all right. Well, anybody can be a friend of Jeff. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, he is a cool dude. I will say that. So,
I'll be the judge of that.
Cool.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
Talk to you. See ya.